Hello again, everybody. This is the second week 2 screencast, the Wednesday screencast, and you've got some reading new. Instead of from Weston's Rulebook for Arguments, this one's from our other class text on humor, thinking and action. You notice the different spelling of humor. That's because the author's British. They spell a few things differently over there. So, Chapter 1 is what we're looking at for this week. It's kind of the key to what we're going to be working on for the next couple of weeks. There's another chapter we'll look at as well, but this week, just Chapter 1. And there it is. And before you read it, be sure to go to the class text page and look at the tips for reading it. His writing is kind of dense, and he makes a lot of references that you may not be familiar with. And how to get around all that is what I explained here on the tips for reading the chapter. And it's going to give you kind of a technique for reading too, which I'd like you to try out. It'll improve your reading comprehension in all college textbooks. And I mentioned some special parts to pay close attention to. So read this first. Then once you get going, after you've looked at the tips, and keep them handy as you read to kind of guide you. There are the 3 theories of humor. And the most common kind of joke you're talking about ancient Rome, thousands of years ago, right? Comedy was even in societies even before ancient Rome, but ancient Rome's got some pretty good stuff. They're starting to use satire, and they have comedy, comic poets, things like that. 3 theories of humor, basically explaining why people laugh for one of 3 reasons. He didn't invent these, he's quoting sources. So take a good look at that section too. And of course, you're going to keep reading according to the assignment. Changing the situation. And then read to the end of reactionary humor and stop. We'll have as much as we need, and it'll be a great gateway to other reading we're going to do in this important text. This is where you get a lot of the context for the humor. Why people laugh. What kinds of jokes people laugh at and why. So keep that in mind. Read the tips first. And let's talk about deductions a little bit, just to come back to deductive arguments a little bit before we go on into Critchley. And this is another one from Stephen Wright. It's called The Electric Joke. And he's talking. He's doing I think he's on a talk show. I think he's on Colbert when he delivers this joke. My friend Jimmy bought an electric car. He's very excited about it. Then he bought an electric blanket. Then he got an electric guitar. Then he got an electric chair, and I haven't heard from him. Okay, if you said it was a modus ponens deduction, you are correct. things that happened, and of course where the punchline is. So you can work backwards. You can find there are 3 premises, right? Well, 4 if you count this part. I would say that you could call that the 4th premise. So which of the 3 theories of humor Critchley lists best explains why? Okay, let's go there. And my advice is to just eliminate the ones that don't fit. That's the easy way to do it. It's not superiority theory, because it's not laughing at somebody we think is mysterious or stupid. Although we're going to get to that when we get to ethnic humor. Relief theory is about kind of what makes us nervous, cringe humor. So it's this one, incongruity. It'll look a little clearer because this is where I've highlighted. You won't be highlighting unless you want to, but be sure to read it. Incongruity is where there is a surprise, what we expect, and then what we don't expect, which is, of course, the punchline. But it's an important part of humor. If you don't know what the logical conclusion is, you wouldn't laugh at the punchline that is illogical, because you have to know, you have to have that surprise, you have to have that unexpected moment, that moment of incongruity. So that's what this one did with the electric chair joke. Now, who's the fool in this joke? Stephen, the joke teller? Or is it Jimmy, the guy who bought the electric chair? Huh? The fact that Jimmy was so fascinated by electric products that he even bought a device historically used for executions, an electric chair, shows he is the fool, along with anyone who buys on impulse. That's an argument. Every joke either has a fool, someone playing the fool, or someone being played for a fool. That's where the actual argument comes out. So keep that under your hat, and let's get onto what's happening for the rest of the week. On the assignments page, there are some big doings, and of course you've got the discussion, and it'll be dealing with Critchley. Let me see. Yeah, both of them, deductions and Critchley. They're reading questions for Thursday. Don't be surprised. Right there on Critchley. Extra credit question. Now let me let the cat out of the bag. This is one of the 2 major assignments of the class. It's due on the 22nd. So you've got some time, but make good use of it. I'd say start early. In fact, my best advice is to read through the assignment a couple of times and make an appointment with yourself to work on a little bit every day, even if it's only a half hour. You'll reduce your stress and you'll keep it going until it's finished. Okay, the basic question is the context of definition of context that I showed you on the Monday screencast, and also those appeals to credibility, emotion, logic on useful terms. Remember the Monday screencast? How can you explain the jokes by just one of the comedians we have viewed? You've got 5 comedians to choose from, of course, but just pick one. And you could use a longer show if you can find something on YouTube or Hulu or wherever. I wouldn't go for anything hours and hours long, but say 20 minutes to 120 minutes, which is, of course, 2 hours. And you're only going to need a few of the jokes. 5 to 7 pages, believe me, they'll go quickly, especially when you bring in Critchley and Weston, because you're going to be explaining the context of the jokes. We'll get to chapter 5 in Critchley soon, don't worry, before it's due. And Weston about the deductive structure. Short arguments, as I've mentioned, is really about deduction. It's just a slimmed down version of that chapter on deductive arguments. And you'll want to cite class material. And when you're bringing in Critchley and Weston to help you do your analysis of the comedy, please provide page numbers. And in the writer's toolbox on the modules page, I give you a link to the Purdue OWL, which OWL stands for Online Writing Lab, Purdue University. And it gives you a nice primer on doing in-text citations. Please do those. And well-developed paragraphs, everything you know about good paragraphing I'm looking for. MLA layout, and also you'll see that on the Writer's Toolbox. And then add on to this is going to get you to 5 pages, no problem, but below your final paragraph of your essay, add 4 spaces and write a couple of more paragraphs about the moment when your approach to the assignment first occurred to you, what challenges you faced in expressing your thinking, and what computer software applications and websites you use. For instance, YouTube, for instance, Canvas, and so on, to bring your thoughts to the page. And that's important. I really like to see that. There are some, just like there's some do's, there are also some don'ts. So only the materials I've assigned, Weston, Critchley, and the comedian you've picked. Unnecessary repetition or paraphrased sections of paragraphs are just taking up space and not really adding to your argument, so avoid those. And of course, you can use ChatGPT if you want to brainstorm or create an outline, but be very careful not to cut and paste from ChatGPT. And it just leaps off the screen when I read it, and it will result in a failing grade. Okay, submitting your assignment. I want a Microsoft Word document. If you don't own Word, don't worry. Use Google Docs. It has a way of converting what you've written to a Word document, as I explain here. Okay, this is worth 200 points. So you don't want to do a rush job here. And naturally, if you have any questions at all, you know where to go by now. Discussions page, class chat room, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Have a great week.